Imagine being 12 years old, waking up one day in your small, quiet town, and hearing a sound that no one else can. Not a song, not a voice you recognize, but whispers. Whispers of things that haven't happened yet. This is the story of Amara. She thought she was going crazy, that the world was playing a cruel trick on her. But when those whispers warned of a disaster that threatened to shatter her entire community, she faced an impossible choice. Should she stay silent and safe, letting everyone think she's just the quiet girl in the back of the class? Or should she speak up, risking everything to save them all? What would you do if you could hear tomorrow? This is the story of a gift, a burden, and the courage it takes to find your voice when the world refuses to listen. Stay with me, because Amara's journey is just beginning. Amara was a young girl living with her grandmother in a town where she always felt a little out of sync. At school, she was like a shadow. Teachers would look past her, their expectations low, and her classmates, well, they just didn't get her. She was the girl who preferred books to gossip, the one whose mind was always wandering to distant places. She felt like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit the picture of her small American town. Her world was quiet, predictable, and lonely. Living with her wise and gentle grandmother was her sanctuary, a place where she could just be Amara, without the weight of anyone's judgment. But that quiet world was about to be turned upside down by a secret that had been sleeping in her bloodline for generations, waiting for the right moment to awaken. And that moment was coming sooner than she could ever imagine. It started one ordinary Tuesday morning. The sun streamed through her window just like any other day. But something was different. As she got ready for school, she heard it. A faint, fleeting whisper, like an echo from another room. It said, "The bus will break down at the old oak." She shook her head, convinced she was just tired, her mind playing tricks on her. She dismissed it and headed to the bus stop. But then, it happened. Exactly as the whisper had described, the school bus sputtered, coughed, and rolled to a stop right beside the giant ancient oak tree at the edge of town. Coincidence, she told herself. It had to be. But the whispers kept coming. A whisper about a pop quiz in math class, which she aced. A whisper about her neighbor losing his keys, which she found nestled in the grass before he even realized they were gone. These weren't just tricks of the mind. They were echoes of tomorrow, and for some reason she was the only one who could hear them. The whispers became her constant, unwanted companions. A secret she locked away, terrified of what people would think. Crazy was the word that echoed in her own head. Who would ever believe her? She tried to ignore them, to drown them out with music, with the noise of the TV, but they only grew more insistent. The fear was eating her alive. One evening, unable to bear the silence and the secrets any longer, she confessed everything to her grandmother. She expected shock, maybe even disbelief. But instead, her grandmother looked at her with a deep, knowing sadness in her eyes. She took Amara's hands in her own, her touch warm and steady. "Child," she said softly, "you are not crazy. In our bloodline, for generations, some of the women carried gifts. Sight, knowing, feeling things before they come. They were called burdens by some, blessings by others. Maybe, just maybe, you are one of them." The words hung in the air, not as a solution, but as a heavy, profound possibility. She wasn't crazy. She was gifted. And that was almost scarier. As the days turned into weeks, the whispers intensified. They were no longer faint echoes, but clear, urgent warnings. One afternoon, while sitting in class trying to focus on a history lesson, a new whisper sliced through the air, louder and more terrifying than any before. The old mill, fire, danger for everyone. The old town mill wasn't just a building. It was where the annual town festival was being set up. Half the town would be there that evening, including her friends and neighbors. A cold dread washed over Amara. This wasn't about a broken-down bus or a lost set of keys anymore. This was about people's lives. The whisper repeated, a frantic, desperate plea in her mind. She was paralyzed. What could she do? Run into the town square and start shouting about a fire no one could see? They'd laugh at her. They'd call her a liar, an attention seeker. The fear of being ridiculed, of being even more of an outcast, was suffocating. But the image of the fire, the thought of people getting hurt, that was worse. She had to make a choice: stay quiet and protect herself, or speak up and risk everything for them. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She looked around the classroom at the faces of her classmates, oblivious, laughing, and passing notes. She saw her teacher, Mrs. Davis, writing on the board. The whisper screamed in her head now. Fire! She couldn't stay silent. Taking a deep, shaky breath, Amara stood up. The entire class turned to look at her. Mrs. Davis, she said, her voice trembling but clear. We have to leave. There's going to be a fire. At the old mill. A bad one. A few kids snickered. Mrs. Davis looked at her, her expression a mix of confusion and pity. Amara, sit down, don't be silly, she said, her tone gentle but firm. It's just an old building. Tears welled in Amara's eyes. Please, she begged, you have to believe me. The laughter grew louder,